on my mind, palm sweat, cold stare. Whole South on the board and we've been waiting here. Every yard of fight, every snap of dare. Push through the pile, make the whole town glare. They talk that noise, we just let it build. And we hit that line and the whole thing still. See that? Hear that roll rise, feel that ground shake. One more drive now, one more first place. Keep that pressure on, don't blink, don't fall. When the whistle blows, we go full go. NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. Who wants it now? Who wants it now? NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. We don't back down, we don't back down. Mud on the cleats, ice in the grim. 4 quarters long, but we still making plays. Got a whole defense built to ruin your day. Home crowd loud, hands in the sky. Every fourth down, we don't ask why. Hit the edge quick, cut through the seam. One shot, one win, that's the Southside dream. Hit that. We will round, roll, rise, feel that ground shake. One more drive now, one more first place. Keep that pressure on, don't blink, don't fall. When the whistle blows, we go full go. NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. Who wants it now? Who wants it now? NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. We don't back down, we don't back down. One division, 4 hard names, 1 trophy, 4 wild games. If you want it, come take your shot. We came for the heat and we want it all. NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. Who wants it now? Who wants it now? NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. We don't back down, we don't back down. NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. We don't back down, we don't back down.
What's going on, guys? We're here today, episode 3. Let's get into this, baby. Where are we at on here? All right, let's do this. All right, let's go ahead and do this. We're gonna go jump right into this. Today's episode, just like I said, gonna be fool around. The next week we'll do an action where I think what's gonna happen this season. And then finally episode 5 will be week 1's predictions. Running solo again. Hopefully next week we'll have Cody or Jordan on. Because we are going to be slowly doing 8 o'clock episodes going forward. Today we're doing 6:30. I know I said I had 8 o'clock today, but I want to get this done with after working for the Orioles. 6-game homestand finally comes to an end. No Cam. Probably not going to see a Cam for a while here until Cody and them get here. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm picking Seahawks here to start week 1. I'm going to take Titans. I'm taking the Texans. I'm taking the Jags. I'm taking the Ravens. I'm taking the Raiders, and I'm taking the Broncos, Cowboys, Eagles, Packers, Lions, Bears, Rams, Bengals, Chargers, Steelers to start week 1. Let's move on. I think we had Bengals winning the Super Bowl Series. The Bengals winning the Super Bowl. Sorry, I got an important text to do. All right. Okay. Week 2. Bills at home opener, the brand new stadium. I'm taking Bills here. We're going to go down in the middle first. Eagles, Titans. I'm taking the Eagles here to win game. So Titans won their first week. The Eagles are starting 2-0. I'm going to take the Bucks over the Browns here. The Bucks get a respond win. I'm taking the Packers over the Jets. I'm taking the Ravens over the Saints. I'm taking the 49ers over the Dolphins. So we're going to go right to left. The Bears, I think the Vikings come in and beat the Bears here. Bears start 1-1. Vikings improve. I have the Falcons coming in here beating the Panthers. I have the Cardinals beating the Seahawks. No, I'll have the Seahawks beating the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals suck. I'm going to have the Commanders beating the Cowboys here. The Rams are going to beat the Giants. I have the Bengals beating the Texans here to start 2-0. Pittsburgh's going to go into New England and get a big win. I think the Raiders are going to beat the Chargers. The Raiders are going to get a really good start this year. I have the Broncos beating the Jags, and I have the Chiefs beating the Colts. That is week 2. Let's move on to week 3. We got where is it? Thursday Night Football. Green Bay. Atlanta does not win in Green Bay, so I'm going to continue picking that. We'll go this way and then we'll go left. I got the Seahawks beating the Commanders. I got the 49ers beating the Cardinals. I got the Bucks beating the Vikings because they've had the Vikings number. I have the Eagles going into Chicago getting a big win. I'm going to go Titans over Giants here. I think the Giants are going to start slow. Carolina will beat Cleveland here. I have Detroit beating the Jets. Actually, you know what? I'll have the Jets upsetting Detroit. I have the Saints beating the Raiders here, getting the first win of the season. Got the Ravens beating the Cowboys here to improve to 3-0. I have the Broncos beating the Rams here for now. In this scenario, Chiefs will go into Miami and get a win. Colts always tend to play the Texans tough, but I'm going to stick with my gun here, and I think the Texans are going to win that game. Bills coming off a huge win over Detroit. I think the Chargers go into Buffalo and get the big win. Bengals, Steelers. I'm going to go ahead and say the Bengals go into Pittsburgh after a good start for the Steelers, and the Bengals get a win. Patriots, Jags. I think the Jags beat the Patriots. This is a week 2. Let's move on to week 3. Kicking us off, Thursday Night Football. Steelers, Browns. I think Steelers get a big win over the Browns. I think the Bengals lose their first game here. The Jags go into Cincinnati, get their big win. Baltimore improves to 4-0 here. Buffalo Patriots, I have the Bills turning around and getting a big win here. Raiders, I think the Chiefs will win this game, but the Raiders will keep it close. Bears, Jets, I'm taking the Bears. Cowboys, I'm taking the Cowboys over the Texans here. I think the Cowboys are going to slowly start winning games here. Seahawks, Chargers, I'm taking the Seahawks over the Chargers. Broncos, 49ers, I'm taking Broncos over the 49ers. Commanders, Colts, I'm taking the Colts over the Commanders. Vikings over the Dolphins here. I'll take the Giants over the Cardinals. Rams, Eagles, I think the Eagles lose this game. I think this is their first game they lose. The Rams come in and get a big win. I think the Packers go into Tampa Bay and get the job done. Carolina, Detroit. I think Carolina upsets Detroit. I think Detroit's going to take a big step back this year. Falcons, Saints. I said this last week. I'll say it again. I think a lot of people are predicting the Falcons to lose this game because it's so close to Hurricane Katrina at anniversary. I think Atlanta goes in and gets a big win over the Saints. So that is week 3 or week 4. Let's move into week 5. Here we go. We have the Jags, Eagles. Kicking us something out here. Cowboys. I think the Bucks go into Jerry World and get a win. Saints, Vikings. I think the Vikings lose here. The Vikings tend to have a since losing in the NFC Championship game, have had the Saints number come playoff time, and I think it's gonna change here with a big win. Commanders, Giants. I have the Giants winning the first matchup with the Commanders. I think the Commanders are going to start slow this year. All the drama with Jaden Daniels is really going to hurt them. Seahawks, 49ers. I think the Seahawks will get a win here, starting 5-0. Lions, Cardinals. I think the Cardinals will start 0-5. Packers will beat the Bears here to improve to 5-0. Jags, Eagles. I'm taking the Jags. I think the Jags get a big win over the Eagles. I think the Eagles lose 2 in a row. I'm predicting the Falcons to beat the Ravens. I think this will be the big win for Atlanta. Atlanta will win this game, a game against Cincinnati, and the game against the Kansas City. Those will be their 3 big wins for the season. Bills, Rams. I think Buffalo goes into LA, gets the big dub. I think the Texans beat the Titans here. I think the Jets get their second win of the season over the Browns. I think the Bengals lose this game. I think Bengals fall 3-2, but Miami beats the Bengals. I think the Steelers beat the Colts to improve to 4-1. I think the Patriots get their first win against the Raiders. I think the Broncos go into LA to beat the Chargers, and that is your week 5 prediction. So let's move into week 6. Thursday football, rematch of the Super Bowl 48. I'm taking the Broncos here. I think the Broncos improved to 6-0. This is where the Seahawks are going to start losing games. I think Tampa Bay hosts and gets a big win over the Steelers here. So we're going to move here. We'll do NFC first and the AFC next. All right, so Saints, Giants. I think this is where the Saints start to win games. Saints get a big win here. Eagles, Panthers. I think the Eagles bounce back after losing 2 in a row. They beat the Panthers here. Falcons, Bears. I think the Bears go into Atlanta and get a win. I think an upset. I'm gonna do an upset here against the Rams here. Dallas does not beat Green Bay. It doesn't matter. Green Bay improves to 6-0. I think the Commanders go into San Francisco. This is where the injuries are going to start hurting San Francisco. At AFC, we got the Patriots and the Jets. I think the Patriots get their second win in a row. I think the Colts beat the Titans here. I think the Browns will upset the Ravens. They always play them tight. I think the Bills go into Las Vegas and get the dub. I think the Jags will win this game against the Texans. I think the Chiefs will win the game against San Diego or LA, the Chargers, and that will be week 6. Moving on to week 7. We got the Bears and the Patriots. I think the Bears get a big win over the Patriots, ending their little win streak. We'll go in between them. We'll go right to left. I think the Vikings get a big win over the Colts. I think the Giants beat the Texans here, getting an upset win here, improving to 3-4. I think the Cardinals get an upset win over Denver. Denver's riding high. I think Arizona gets back-to-back wins. I think LA goes into Las Vegas and gets a big win. Saints Steelers. I think the Saints get their second win or third win in a row or fourth win in a row after starting. No, I think they started 0-2 and they won. So Seahawks, Chiefs. I think this is where the Seahawks start to lose. I think the injuries start to hurt San Francisco. Atlanta gets revenge from last year's loss. I think Carolina beats Tampa Bay here. I think the Lions beat the Packers here, getting them their first loss of the season. I think the Eagles win second in a row to improve to 5-2. Titans and Browns. I think the Browns will get back-to-back wins here. Jets, Dolphins. Jets, I think, will get another win here to improve to 3-4. Ravens, Bengals. I think the Ravens will take this matchup to improve to 5-2 to end our week 7 predictions. Week 8. Here we go. Thursday Night Football. We'll start with in between. Battle of LA. I think the Rams will take the victory here. I just don't trust the Chargers yet. I think the Chargers will go on a run late in the season to sneak into the playoffs. I'll do my predictions with them full time like next week. We got the Packers and the Panthers here. A good Thursday night matchup, but I think ultimately the Packers will take the win here. Dallas, Arizona. Arizona had their little fun 2 games in a row that they won. Dallas gets the win back here. Lions will get a big win over Minnesota. And here I think Atlanta will split with Tampa Bay. The Commanders will get their win back over the Eagles. And I think Chicago will go into Seattle and get a big win. Bengals will beat the Titans to improve to 4-3. I think the Raiders will finally win a game against another game. I think The Browns will go in and upset the Steelers. I think the Jags will get a big win over the Colts. I think the Bills will beat Baltimore to prove to 5-2. I think the Broncos will sweep the Chiefs, and I think New England will go in to Miami and get a win because they tend to win there. Next game, Week 9. All right, we'll start with the in between Saints Browns. I think the Saints win. I think the Dallas Cowboys go into Indianapolis get a big win. I think Detroit. I think Detroit's going to fall off here. I think Miami gets a big win over Detroit. Carolina, Denver. I think Carolina upsets Denver. I really do. I think that's going to be Carolina's biggest win. I think the 49ers beat the Raiders. I got the Falcons beating the Bengals here. A big win over the Bengals here to improve to 5-4. I got the Packers. I got the Patriots beating the Packers at home, getting a big win, trying to get them back in the playoffs. Vikings, Bills. I think the Bills go in to Minnesota and get a big win. All right, so we'll start with NFC. I think the Rams will beat the Commanders, ending their little win streak. I'm still going to take Eagles over the Giants here. 2 wins. I think Seattle gets their win back after losing 3 in a row. I think Chicago will beat Tampa Bay here. I think Baltimore will beat Jacksonville. I think this is where I think Kansas City is going to fall off a little bit. I think the Jets get a big win over Kansas City. I think Houston's going to go into to Los Angeles. I think from now on, I think the Chargers are going to start figuring it out, and they'll start winning some games. But that's going to be our Week 8 predictions. So it's our Week 9 predictions. Let's move into Week 10. All right, so we got Thursday, or we're going to the matchups. I think Atlanta beats the Chiefs here. Like I said, I think this is where the Chiefs are going to start falling off. I think the Raiders will beat the Seahawks, and I think the Patriots will get a big win over the Lions here. We got the Giants and the Commanders. I think the Commanders will sweep the Giants here, getting a big win, getting them back to 4-5. I think the Saints have had success over the Panthers. I think the Packers will beat the Vikings. I think LA will beat Arizona. I think Dallas will beat San Francisco. So we'll move on here. Tennessee, Jacksonville. I think Tennessee gets a big win over Jacksonville. I think the Jets upset the Bills here. I think the Texans get a big win here. They get a win here. I think Miami gets a big win over the Colts because I really do think the Colts are going to be one of the worst teams in football. The Bengals will beat the Steelers here. And the Ravens will beat the Or you know what? I think this is where the Chargers season turns around. They beat the Ravens here on the road on Monday Night Football. Week 11. We'll start with the middle here. Dallas, Tennessee. I think Tennessee goes into Jerry World. He gets a big win. I think Arizona upsets Kansas City. I think Carolina beats the Ravens. I think the Jags go in MetLife and get a big win. I think the Eagles win the Battle of Pennsylvania. I think the Bengals go in Monday night and get a big win. I think the Chicago Bears will beat the Saints here. I think the Bucks, who have had Detroit's number, will get a win over the Lions. The Mexico game, I'm going to go ahead and say the 49ers win. I think the Texans finally turn it around here, get a win here. I think the Bills beat Miami to improve to 7-3. I think the Chargers get a win over the Jets to improve 4-6. I think the Broncos will beat the Raiders here. All right, Week 12. I think the Saints will lose to the Bengals. I think the Saints are going to start losing games here. Colts are going to beat the Giants here. Actually, you know what? I think the Giants will beat the Colts here. I think the Giants are going to go on a run. Green Bay, LA, the battle of first. I think LA gets the win here. Chicago, Detroit. I think Detroit upsets Chicago. I think Dallas takes this one over the Eagles. I think Minnesota gets revenge on Atlanta. I actually have the 49ers beating the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to fall out this year. Commanders and Cardinals. I think the Cardinals get another win over the Commanders. Bucks and Panthers. Panthers won the first matchup. I think the Bucks take the second one here. Bills always beat the Chiefs here. I think the Broncos beat the Steelers. I think the Texans get a big win over Baltimore. I think this is where we see the Dolphins start to win games. The Browns or the Raiders. I think the Browns beat the Raiders. Jags over the Titans. I think Jags beat the Titans. I think the Patriots lose to the Chargers, who are now 5-6, slowly getting back to 500. Week 13. All right, we got Thursday Night Football, Rams. This is where I think the Chiefs get a huge win over the Rams. Titans and Commanders. I think the Titans beat the Commies. Get a big win. Chicago, Jacksonville. I think Chicago gets a big win over Jacksonville here. Tampa Bay, Chargers. I think the Chargers go into Tampa Bay and get a big win. Saints, Packers. I think the Packers beat the Saints here on the road. Falcons, I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to say right now, I think they beat the Lions here. I think the Lions are going to start losing games that they should win. Giants, 49ers. I think the injuries are too much. The Giants start to win more games. You know what? I think the Eagles get upset here. I think this is where the Cardinals start to win some games they shouldn't win. I got the Vikings here. Vikings are sitting at 4-7 against a 5-6 team. I think the Panthers are going to start rolling off wins. I think Seattle finally gets back in the win column here, beating Dallas. Let's move on. Browns, Bengals. I think the Browns go in and beat the Bengals. They always tend to beat Joe Burrow. I think Miami goes into Denver and gets a big win. I think the Patriots will beat the Bills here. And I think the Texans are going to go into Pittsburgh and get a big dub. Week 14. We're closer towards the end, towards the playoffs. Here we go. Patriots, Vikings. I think the Vikings go into New England and get a big dub. I think the Ravens beat up on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the Texans go into the Commanders and get a big win, a big dub. I think the Falcons go into Cleveland and get a big win to prove 8-5. I think the Bears and the Bears go into Miami and get a win. I think the Titans go in to Detroit and get a big win. I think the Eagles will beat the Colts here to improve to 8-5, and I think the Packers will beat the Bills as they fall to 8-5 here. I think the Broncos will beat the Jets. The Chargers will beat the Raiders. I think the Bengals are going to beat the Chiefs. And I think the Jags are going to beat. And then finally here we got I think the Saints. I'll split. I think they're going to split. Take this and I'll take that. All right, let's move into week 15. We got Steelers. We got Chargers, 49ers. I think the Chargers improved to 8-6 after starting so badly at 2-6. They've knocked off 6 straight wins. Bills will beat the Bears here. The Bears. Packers will beat the Dolphins. I think the Giants will go in and beat Cleveland here, improving to 6-8. I think the Bengals go into Carolina and get a big dub. I think the Cardinals will beat the Jets here to improve to 6-8. I think the Titans will sweep the Colts. I think the Texans will beat the Jags. I think the Ravens will beat the Steelers. I think the Broncos will officially sweep the Raiders. I think the Chiefs will beat the Patriots. All right, we got Eagles, Seahawks. I think Seattle goes into Philadelphia, gets a win. I think Atlanta goes into Washington, ending their win streak to prove to 9-5. I think the Bucks beat the Saints here, proving to 8-6. I think the Rams will beat the Cowboys, and I think the Lions will go into Minnesota and get a big dub. Week 16. We got NFC versus AFC games. Eagles, Texans. I think the Eagles beat the Texans here. I think the Steelers will beat the Panthers. I got the Chiefs beating the 49ers. I got the Jaguars going into Jerry World getting a big dub. Packers and Bears. I think the Bears beat the Packers. I got the Rams beating the Seahawks completely securing the number 1 seed, or securing the division. I have the Commanders beating the Vikings. I have the Falcons beating the Bucks. I have the Saints beating the Cardinals. I have the Lions beating the Giants. I have the Broncos beating the Bills here. I have the Bengals going into Indianapolis, getting a big dub. I have the Ravens beating the Browns. I have the Patriots beating the Jets. I have the Chargers going into Miami, and you know what, to get a big dub. And then I have the Titans beating the Raiders here in a fun matchup between the last 2 first-round picks. We head into our final week. Thursday Night Football. No, 2 more weeks. Week 18 is the final week. Thursday Night Football, we'll get to that. We'll do Jags and Commanders. I think the Jags hold off the Commanders here. I think the Vikings beat the Jets, securing that they're not the worst team in football. I think the Cardinals get a big dub over the Raiders. I think the Packers get a big win over the Texans here. I think the Rams go in to Tampa Bay and get a big win. I think the Giants go into Jerry World and get a win. I think the Panthers beat the Seahawks here to get a big win. I think Atlanta will sweep the New Orleans Saints to win the division. Again, 11-5. I don't think they're going to finish 11-5, but I'm a little bit more confident with the team after how they looked yesterday. Bears, Lions. I think the Bears secure the win here, 11-5. I think the Eagles go into San Francisco to get a win. Bengals, Ravens. I think the Bengals will officially win the division here, Thursday Night Football. I have the Chiefs losing to the Chargers. I have the Broncos beating the Patriots. I have the Titans beating the Steelers. I have the Bills going into Miami with a big dub. And then finally, I have the Cleveland Browns beating the Colts. And finally, last but not least, Week 18. We'll start with the AFC. I have the Chargers going in because at this time the Broncos are just going to be resting their players because they already locked up the number 1 seed. The Chiefs are going to go and they're going to lose to the Raiders and they're barely going to miss the playoffs. Texans are going to lose to the Titans. A big dub for the Titans. Bengals will finish off their season with a big dub. Ravens will finish their season with a big dub. Patriots will lose to the Miami Dolphins. Jags will finish their season with a big dub over the Colts. Bills will finish their season over the big dub over the Jets. I think the Rams will finish their season with a big dub, securing the number 1 seed. I think the Cardinals will beat the 49ers. I think the Saints will beat the Bucks. I think the Packers at this point get the win because they're going to play if they're not going to play their starters, I think Detroit goes in and gets a win over the Packers. Because at this point, I think the Rams have secured. Actually, you know what? The Packers are going to play the starters because the Rams play the same time as the Packers. I have them going in here beating the Vikings, the Bears. I have the Giants getting a win, barely missing the playoffs here. I have the Commanders beating the Cowboys, and then I have Atlanta already wrapped the 3rd seed up, resting their players, and the Panthers getting the dub at home as they split. We move into the playoffs. Here we go, folks. We're going to start from the AFC to the NFC. We'll start with 4 and 5. The Bills versus the Chargers. I have the Bills moving on here, beating the Chargers. Bengals, Texans. I have Dabaro moving on, baby. Dabaro. Jags, Ravens. I have Trevor Lawrence getting the Jags to the divisional round. Eagles, Bears. I have the Eagles beating the Bears here. The Falcons and Panthers. I have the Falcons rallying with their first ever home playoff game in the new stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and getting a win. I have the Packers beating the Seahawks here for a big matchup. A big dub. All right. Here we go. Now we're going to get goofy. Okay, Broncos-Bills rematch. We'll start with the AFC again. I have the Bills getting revenge over the in this scenario. Bills getting revenge over the fucking cat's getting in his little. He wants to go for a ride. And I have the Jaguars beating the Bengals here. Last week I had the Bengals winning the Super Bowl. This week I will have the Jags beating the Bengals. Moving on. NFC, we'll start with 1 versus 4. I have the Rams beating the Eagles, the Packers and Falcons. Falcons on the road. They don't do well in Green Bay, but guess what? They do well this time. They upset the the mother-loving Green Bay Packers. The Falcons are in the NFC Championship game. No one predicted this. Well, it's going to happen. We'll do AFC versus NFC first. AFC before NFC. Here we go, folks. The Jaguars and the Bills are in the NFC Championship game. Will the Jags make their first NFL or NFC or Super Bowl, not NFC, Super Bowl appearance? No. The Buffalo Bills all the way this time are going to Super Bowl 51 or 61. On the other side, the Rams and the Falcons. The Rams will end Atlanta's Cinderella run in this scenario. And we got the Bills and the Rams. Josh Allen versus Matthew Stafford. Shout out to JJ. Shout out to Tomko. You Bills fans. Love you guys. In this scenario, the Buffalo Bills are your Super Bowl champions. Josh Allen, congratulations. You finally got over the hump. You got revenge from last year. You beat the Jags again. And you get your championship in LA, where Josh Allen, I think, is from. He's from California. So that is all the time we have for today's episode. Thank you guys. Next week we'll do my actual predictions of what I think is going to happen this year. And then episode 5 will be the actual predictions for week 1. So we'll have all the match cards and everything loaded up. So anyways, thank you guys for it. Thank you guys for today's episode. I will see you guys later.